Phantom Pains, written and read by Sterling Wolfe. Warning: this story talks about murder and spousal abandonment. Any and all semblance of real people, places, or events is purely coincidental. The ring looked beautiful in the evening light. Devane sat on the porch of the bungalow, listening to the soft lap of the waves, his gaze fixated on the band on his finger. Like the first halo settled above his head, and the second halo settled as a bracelet on his wrist, it bent the light in a beautiful way, glowing as the sun passed through the translucent material. But, as pretty as it was, he couldn't bring himself to appreciate it the way he used to. He'd been thinking lately. Ever since the day he became a ghost, ever since he found out he was abandoned by his husband and nothing was left for him but his job in the city, he'd been searching for Cyrus. He called and asked and pried for any information, and even when he gave up looking, he didn't give up hope. For almost a decade, he clung to the belief something had happened. Either he'd somehow missed something, or his husband didn't want anyone to find him, or, God forbid, whoever killed him killed his husband too. He waited so long to see him return. But he'd been thinking lately. What would he get back if Cyrus returned? He would get confirmation his husband was alive, but he'd also get confirmation his husband had more than 9 years to find him again and chose not to. He'd get the difficult decision of hearing what happened and choosing whether to take back someone who might have abandoned him without a second thought. He might get stability, something he shakily built for himself with incorporeal hands. He might get a relic of his old life, a solace he already finds in some of his colleagues. He wouldn't get anything he didn't have already. His gaze fell from his ring to his hand. A few days ago, he felt someone else's touch on his skin for the first time since he died. Not the graze of treated cloth catching against him, not a burning warmth that phases through him, not the feeling of life slop between breathing bodies he hid in that never fit right. Real skin on phantasmic skin with another ghost. It wasn't much, since he didn't want to off-put the other, and he was too startled himself to do more than hold hands. But the simple moment was monumental in so many ways to him. Maybe that was why he was rethinking so much. Before now, he felt like his only option, if he wanted to find true connection again, was with the people he knew before death. He'd lost a lot after life, any charming qualities in his own eyes being one of them. Paired with the challenges of just interacting with the living, much less dating one, he figured he'd only be pursued in jest or in idealization. He tried to entertain the idea he had more options when a living spelled out their interest in him, but he was immediately passed up for another living after returning the sentiment. He'd rethought his decisions and fell to 2 options: Cyrus or nobody. Dating anyone alive would be inherently selfish. He had troubles they'd feel pressured to shoulder. He'd never be able to hold them without stealing time from someone else's life. And after all this, they might pass on without him, caring for him and never being able to reunite. He only wanted to be that selfish for someone he'd already dedicated to in life. But that wasn't his only option anymore. He didn't need to be selfish. Sure, he understood there were others like him, but he never understood what that entailed until now. Now the world felt larger, and it was harder to see why he needed to cling to a living ghost. He looked at the ring again, one of the 3 circlets he was born with. In the angelic culture, or at least the one he grew up in, a halo was dedicated to one's spouse, because giving a piece of yourself for your partner was worth so much more than any material. Even though Cyrus was a sylph with no halo to share in the tradition with, he was eager to partake in one of the few snippets of tradition Devane had wanted to carry, and let Devane wear his own halo. Once, every time he looked at it, he thought of his husband. Now, staring at the golden-colored ring, he could barely even conjure his face in his head if he tried. Once, that was a reminder of someone he loved. Maybe it could be again. But for now, it was just a piece of him. He focused, and with apprehension, the circlet grew and floated off his hand, leaving an indent where it once sat. He felt a pained regret seeing the indent, but he knew it'd pass. The indent would fade, and so would his doubt. His ring returned to his hand, now a bracelet mirroring the second. He spun it with his finger, watching it twirl with its newfound freedom. His halos looked beautiful in the evening light.